It's a madhouse! A madhouse!
Hello, Contrarians listeners, Contrarians fans, Contrarians watchers all over the world. Here we are with another dual QVR quick video review, which at this point, quick is just, it's there because we don't want to change the name, but
because it also could be quick.
It may be quicker than if we were not doing video, but still, we're going to watch a movie, give you an intro here, then we watch half the movie, then we come back, record something else, telling you where we are, what we think, and then go back, finish the movie, and then return to the video for our final thoughts and ratings and all that stuff. Today, Planet of the Apes, the original one, the one that started it all, at least movie-wise. The musical.
Yes. I hate every, ape I see, from chimpanzee to chimpanzee.
You finally made a monkey
out of me.
Yes, you finally made a monkey out of me. I love you, Dr. Zaius.
God, I watched this movie for the first time. It's not a first watch for either of us, I think, right? I've seen this movie multiple times, but I was very, very young. And so I'm curious what it's like to see it as an adult. But I watched it when I was a little kid. It scared the shit out of me. Those monkeys looked terrifying. I don't know if it's just the way they looked or the idea that an animal could grow sentience and suddenly overpower the human race. There was something about it that was really scary, but also really compelling because anytime it was on TV, I would watch it. And of course, the ending, it just absolutely blows your mind if you don't know what you're
it's an all-timer.
Yeah. But that's all to say that I am so glad that I watched it when I was young, because then when that musical happened in The Simpsons, I was like, oh, the chainsaw. It's the monkey chainsaw. So, good memories. I remember liking this movie a lot, and in my mind, it's just like you just said, it's an old-timer. So I'm going to be crestfallen if watching it now. I just feel like it doesn't hold up because I don't remember the details. I remember the big moments, right? I remember the first time Charlton Heston finally gets his voice back. I remember, Dr. Zaius, Zira, the ending. I remember when he shaves at the end, like some stuff, but I don't remember like how it all connects together. And if it doesn't connect together well, then that's gonna suck. How much do you remember from the movie?
It's basically visuals, just like the way the monkey outfits are, and like just they're like communicating with it. It's kind of like a mind-bending movie. I can only imagine, like, it was based on a novel from '63, a French novel. So it was adapted pretty quick for the time period, and I imagine like it's one of those movies, like seeing it in the theater opening weekends, probably like, what the fuck.
Even if you've read the book, I think I read at least a version of the book, and it was in Spanish because I was, when I've seen the movie, I bought the book, but I don't know, like I said, I don't know if it was like an abridgment, and on top of that, it was translated to Spanish. But I remember the ending, which was completely different because the book ends with some astronauts, somebody on a spaceship, this couple, they find the equivalent of a message in a bottle, and it's a manuscript. It's basically the story of the protagonist of the Planet of the Apes, and so they start reading, and that's the book. And then the story ends, and you come back to the spaceship, and it's revealed that the astronauts that were reading the story are monkeys, they're apes, and you're like, oh my god. I think the Statue of Liberty is even more striking of an ending than that, but still, I mean,
it's but yeah, to answer your question, that's just a lot of visually based is what I remember about this. I don't remember much of the dialogue or like the pacing or anything like that, because again, I probably watched this on TNT or AMC or something when I was a little kid.
You got the TV edit, no sex scenes.
No monkeys going to town on Charlton Heston.
Jesus Christ. I was talking about, just regular Dr. Zaius jerking off, or Cornelius.
Disgraced actor Charlton Heston.
Well.
Of Wayne's World 2 fame. But
He's in the
not the
Tim
Ten
Burton.
Commandments. Wayne's World 2. Do what?
He's in the Tim Burton remake. I think he plays an ape.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that since the early 2000s. But anyway, this in some ways will be like a first time watching, because it'll definitely be my first time watching as an adult, and kind of with a greater grasp of the scope of this movie. Directed by Franklin J. Schaffner, also the director of Patton.
Oh,
Did you know Francis Ford Coppola wrote that movie? I didn't know that.
Patton?
Mhm.
Really?
He wrote it with Edmund H. North. I was just going through Schaffner's filmography before we hopped on here. Looks like Planet of the Apes and Patton, Lionheart. He's got some pretty well-known works. But this is, we'll get to it when the time comes in the ending, but it's unquestionably one of the most memorable and cliched and like mimicked, attempted to be recreated endings in the history of cinema. So
Yes.
the real question is, what does Martin Scorsese think about it? We need to find out.
Is it just a roller coaster ride for Marty, or is it cinema? I don't
Takes
know.
the glasses off when the Statue of Liberty at the end.
Just to close this intro, 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics seem to like it.
We should probably mention, why are we doing this?
That was going to be my next thing. It is number 33 in Patron Jordan Manse's 100 top movies of all time.
My God.
So we might piss him off.
Putting up them blue is the warmest color numbers on that one.
Yes. Now, fair to point out that this Rotten Tomato score is out of 61 reviews. So it's not doing like, speaking of Marty, the Irishman numbers of reviews.
I mean, like Avatar, people were like, "Oh, it's only 81%." It's like 500 fucking reviews that they're going off of.
88% audience score out of 100,000 ratings.
There you go.
So Jordan's there, throwing a fresh tomato at it. So that's it. Let's get into it. I know that he crashes, his spaceship crashes on this planet. He thinks it's another planet. We'll find out what it really is, but there's monkeys all over, and there's humans, but the humans don't talk. And then he's captured. That's what I remember. Do you think we're gonna watch the first hour? Do you think that by the hour mark, he's escaped, or does that happen like later in the movie? I know at some point he escapes, but I also feel like an hour of him being prisoner, that almost makes it like a monkey prison movie. Is Planet of the Apes a prison movie and I just don't remember?
I guess we're about to find out. It could be the hunger of its day.
Jesus Christ. Again, just Charlton Heston and really harrowing experiences. All right, so we'll find out.
Yeah, and this one's a hair under 2 hours, so it'll be a little bit past the halfway point, but I propose that we make it to the hour mark and then check back in.
Yes, because after we see the Statue of Liberty at the end, it's gonna be like 10 minutes of us just like rocking back and forth, recovering. So, all right. So we're gonna go watch the first half of the movie, the first hour, and we'll come back and then we'll talk about it a little more.
Don't look for it, Taylor. You may not like what you find. It's a madhouse!
Well, we are back, you damn dirty apes. It's like right at the 1 hour mark.
Dude, it was perfect. He drops that line, and then I was like, well, first of all, that first hour flew by. I went to check the little skadoodle, the time bubble, and it was 54 minutes in. I was like, holy shit. So
when he started running, when you're like, oh, it's gonna happen right at the 1 hour mark.
You called it well on that too. You're like, I think he escaped somewhere in that time period. So yeah, that worked out well.
It wasn't looking like it though, because I checked, I paused when they got captured, and we were 30 minutes in, and I was like, man, 30, like that's a fourth of the movie without apes, or at least without the actual like apes in their city and all that stuff. So I was like, no, they probably spend like an hour before they escape.
They're doing the Interstellar. They just kind of watch their ship sink, and they're like, "Well, we got to explore. We've lost all this time."
They didn't find Matt Damon though. They just found naked people.
They did not. No.
I mean, at this point, it's almost too late. I'm gonna put a spoilers disclaimer in the description, and maybe Corey can put like a little graphic at the very beginning. Because as we started talking, like, I mean, odds are that if you're watching this video, you know exactly what the end of this movie is, and it's like it's impossible for us to not. I mean, it's possible to not reference it, but I don't want to. Because my first comment, Alex, right out of the gate, is. And for some reason you're still watching, you should watching this, not having seen the movie, go see the movie. It's on Stars. If you have Stars, it's on which one are you using? Sling, right?
I was gonna use Sling, but it was gonna just be too long with the ads. It was like gonna add like 45 minutes to the movie with all the ads, so I was just like, I'll just rent this on YouTube. We'll call it a day.
All right. Well, the point is it's readily available everywhere. So watch it, then come back here, because I want to talk about the ending specifically in the sense that from the moment the movie starts and Charlton Heston starts talking, I was like, it's so obvious what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's because obviously I know how it all ends, and also the ending, the twist is just so entrenched in pop culture that it's, you know, this isn't foreshadowing. For me, it's so blatant. You know, he keeps talking about like, well, I wonder what Earth is like, and if the people that are listening to me are the same as the ones I left. And then throughout the entire first 30 minutes when they're talking, and he keeps just kind of teasing that other guy, I guess it's Landon. He keeps making comments. It was like, it's almost like he knows what's happening. You know, it's like, you are so far away from Earth and from everything you've ever known. And did you? It's almost, I don't know, how do you? It's so difficult to just imagine if that was the case back in '68. Like, you know, would people think, oh man, this guy just can't stop talking about Earth? Or would they pick up on the fact that, yeah, they landed on Earth? It's clear.
They also like weren't used to twist endings at that point, so their mind wouldn't go there.
Yeah.
Now we go to movies and we want to figure it out before it's over.
That's true.
Figure out what's going to happen. Then, you know, Vietnam and all that. It was a much better time in our country.
You just wanted to go to the movies and just let them take you for a ride. You were not trying to anticipate what was going to happen.
Man, I forgot how kind of shocking and pretty terrifying the first shot of the Apes is.
Yep.
Are on horseback and they have those shotguns, and you see them, but then it's the one clear shot where it kind of zooms in on the one that's on horseback, and Charlton Heston's like, my God.
So, do you think? Would you say, or is it too soon to tell, that this is somewhat of a horror movie? Because I just said it, you know, it scared me as a kid. But I was thinking, okay, as an adult, it's not going to be, you know, scary because, you know, it's people in costumes and all that stuff. But that shot, the meme, the Charlton Heston meme, which I'd seen online, but I didn't remember, you know, like it said it was from Planet of the Apes. I remember from when. It's when he's laughing and the camera like zooms in on him. It happens right after he sees Landon putting the flag, the American flag, and he laughs. And in the context of, you know, knowing what that planet is, I found it really creepy. You know, this American dude laughing at his little flag while he's literally standing in the ruins of his culture. You know, he doesn't know. So that gave me chills even before the apes showed up.
I forgot the first thing that you hear the apes say is when they're posing like the hunting picture, and the one just goes smile. Like that's the first thing you hear them like say, and ha ha ha. Yeah. You know, horror is obviously that can be stretched to many different definitions, but yeah, it's obviously a movie that has like, I mean, I would have no issue labeling it science fiction horror because the Landon, is that his name, that they use his body to like make a statue?
That's the other guy. That's Hodge, I think.
Yes. Okay. Hodge. Landon,
we don't know. I don't know what happened to him. I'm assuming he's dead, but I don't know.
Well, Hodge also gets killed in the shot in that opening escape attempt. But yeah, that part's terrifying. His eyes have like whited over, and he's all like stood up like a mannequin, and it's funny. You know, it's hard not to immediately into the society of today, like how divided we are and shit. Just think about anyone who's different than you, this is obviously a much different thing of like beast and man, but it's just like a timeless story, and it is like I don't think any of us are ever going to be in that situation, at least in your or I's lifetime. But like thinking of that, it's like, oh my god. And then like the dismissal of like the whole idea of flying, like the guy, like it's a toy, it floats on air. Nonsense, Dr. Zaius just crumbles it up. And like Heston is like, right at the 1 hour mark where he pauses, where get your damn dirty paws off me. I mean, Heston is Heston to the max in this, and we haven't even gotten to like Mecha Heston yet.
But we've gotten a fair amount of Heston before he gets shot in the on the throat. What do you think of him as an actor? Because I guess I've never really. This might be the first time
Charlton Heston.
Yeah, well, because
one of the greatest actors ever.
Is he? I don't know. Like I've seen the Ten Commandments in Spanish. I've seen Planet of the Apes. I just realized it's the first time I'm watching it in English, so I've seen it dubbed too. I think I saw Touch of Evil in English, but I don't like that movie to begin with, so I can't really. Isn't he playing a Mexican in Touch of Evil? So that already feels wrong.
Have you seen Ben-Hur?
Yes.
Yeah.
In Spanish.
Well,
I love Ben-Hur though.
I think obviously that you would lose a lot of inflection and like just. I mean, he's an actor of yesteryear. He's very
right.
I'm only like all I can think of is just Charlton Heston. Let my people go, like that type of thing. And again, he's was a wildly problematic person, but yeah, I think it's safe to put him in the upper tier of actors, in that pantheon of elite. So here though, like, and I don't know, that could be like I feel like everyone has a Charlton Heston impression, and this is kind of one of those things it comes from. But that opening, yeah, it's very. You could show it to someone like just that opening where he's talking like to himself when everyone's in isolation and like the spaceship and like a film. I could see a film student referring to it as like Kubrickian or very very Kubrick like. I like that's part of it. I obviously didn't have much memory of, and the opening credits are like way more futuristic than like a lot of like the movie's primitive feel. So yeah, man. I mean, we're over halfway through. It's flown by, and like this is more than I remember it being because I haven't seen it in so long. But already, it's easy to see why this movie is heralded and held in the regard that it is, especially for the time. I know you're not as crazy about practical effects as I am, but goddamn, dude,
shut up. That's I am very enthusiastic about good effects, practical or digital, and these are really good. I wanted to bring up the apes because they're so expressive, and I couldn't help myself, and I went and looked at the cast, and this was the real twist for me, Alex. I know how the movie ends, so that was not going to be a surprise. This was a surprise. Kim Hunter plays Stella in Streetcar Named Desire in the Brando version. Yes, never would have crossed my mind. The fact that she gets to play two iconic roles in film history. it's amazing. She's so good. She's
oh yeah, she's great. Her inflection and everything's really good.
Yeah, but well, the eyes, I mean, that's the makeup has a lot to do with it, right? Like the way that they manage to shape, they look like apes, but they're still allowing the actors to shine through the makeup. Like I know like the mouths are not moving as much as I guess I remember them moving, which just goes to show like my imagination just like transformed it into like, wow, they were absolutely photorealistic.
Mandela effect.
Yes. But honestly, after a few minutes, you just get used to it. It's just because the vocal performance is so good, and like I said, the rest of the face is so expressive that you just buy
That's
it.
part of it. The eyes like are so like obviously that comes from the skill of acting, but like it's not like a fucking ventriloquist, but it's just kind of like very subtle the movements. But like the body, I'm curious if that was like part of like the rah speech that Franklin gave on the first day. He's like, God damn it, your mouths aren't going to move, so you're going to have to use body language and your eyes to act.
Yes, sir.
There's this kid here named Michael Keaton. He's going to show you how to use your eyebrows to act.
Kim Hunter was like, I faced off against Brando. You need to tell me how to act. Actually, I don't know if Streetcar Named Desire was before or after this, but either way, she's got it.
Pretty sure it was before. I will double check. Yeah, 51. So it was a ways before.
As I was watching this, some stuff from the second half started coming back to me. I'm not gonna bring it up in case you don't remember, but we will discuss on the next segment. Um, Obviously, knowing how it all ends, it's doing that thing where yes, there's not going to be a shock at the end, but it's also just adding to the dread of
Hmm.
how things, what happens when he learns. I will tell you this: when it started, that first half hour, he's such a prick. That was like, I'm not gonna feel very bad for him when he finally gets the rug pulled from under him at the very end.
Man,
Um,
he's ungrateful as shit too. He's got Linda Harrison just kind of gifted to him as his mate.
Nova. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, they're cuddling, which I thought was
that
funny.
is funny. They come back to him, and Heston, he's trying to get out of there, but he's always got some time for spooning.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I mean, obviously, we're very positive. So, not even going to bother with predictions. Like I said, I think I have an idea of what happens. The other big twist in the second half, but I'll tell you the one thing I don't know at all. But like I said, I think it's a pretty safe assumption that Landon is dead. I
Mhm.
just don't remember exactly what happened, or if we even find out what happened to him. I expect him to die just like Hodge, just in the attack, but no, we just saw him get taken away. So, about 55 minutes of Planet of
Yep.
the Apes left. So we'll go take care of that, and then we'll be back here for final thoughts, assessments. Is this, Alex?
He
Think
can
of
talk,
this.
He can talk. He can talk. He can talk. I can sing. Is this what?
Think about this for the next segment. Is this a timeless movie? Because as I was watching it, I was thinking, it might be I'm on the fence, but I think it plays right now in 2023 very closely to the way it played back in the 60s. Like the effects are not really dated. The acting is a little different from the naturalistic style from today. It is more of a stage acting, but even that, I think the apes are actually surprisingly naturalistic in their performances.
Very clearly, for those big pieces shot on location, and we've talked about some of the older movies we've done that for you or I, especially myself, the big sound stages, there's like a charm about that, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of that doesn't age to like
Yes,
a younger audience than us. And with this, it does look very big and expansive and like shot on location.
I think that I don't have to even like imagine what it's like. I mean, we've had Planet of the Apes movies shot since then in more modern times. And I was going to say, I guess the action sequences would be just more, not even polished, but just like more elaborate, right? And they are in the Burton movies and in the new Apes movies, the ones with, um, what's his name? I always forget. Gollum, Andy Serkis. So yeah, that's definitely something that if you watch those and then you watch this one, it may feel a little quaint when it comes to the action sequences, but I don't think it matters because the story is so captivating that you just go with it. You don't care that maybe Heston is not landing every punch like Marky Mark does, but it still works.
Where's Abraham Lincoln?
Oh God. We shall discuss Abraham Lincoln in the next segment. All right, let's go finish this movie, and we'll be back in about 50 minutes.
A civilization where humans run wild in the jungles. And the superior beings are apes.
And we are back. It's over. And Alex, I would just like to say that I just love legitimate theater.
Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius. Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius.
Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius.
Oh, Dr. Zaius.
It's very tempting to just play the whole thing, but no.
Mhm.
It's in your head. It gets in your head. And if you haven't seen the Simpsons little musical bit about Planet of the Apes, you should, because it's on YouTube and it's very funny.
I think it's A Fish Called Selma is the name of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, you need a whole build up too, but
Yeah.
but even if you know Planet of the Apes and you watch that, you get it. First question: I can't believe it never occurred to me. So this all takes place in New York, right? Or did the top of the Statue of Liberty just traveled across the world?
The
somewhere?
Cloverfield monster threw it to
Just landed in Australia.
yeah. I guess. That my immediate thought was like, I guess the coast just moved in that far, and Manhattan's underwater now. Sure.
It's somewhere in America, at least,
hmm
right? There's no way that it traveled to another continent. The Statue of Liberty must have kind of fallen somewhere in America.
Dude, it's even better than I remembered. How he comes around the corner and you see that's the bird's eye view from the top of the Statue of Liberty that goes down into Charlton Heston. Oh God, yeah, it's fantastic.
It's great because he goes on his like tirade, and then we cut to Nova. Just she doesn't know what's going on, and
Mhm.
then you see,
Yeah,
take a look at what she's seeing.
and the movie's over. Get the fuck out of the theater.
Yep, that's
Deal
it.
with that and get out.
Yeah, I had forgotten that
Mhm.
that it ended so badly for Zira and Cornelius. I thought that they were exonerated at the end.
That's rough. Yeah,
It's like those fuckers. Like it's a bad ending. I mean, a sad ending in
Yeah.
all instances, not just for Taylor. That's a bummer.
yeah. It's to preserve the future, whatever the rationale he gives. So, what's the ending of the book is different? How?
It's this. Well, I don't know if there's like the Statue of Liberty thing is not there. I think it's
Mhm.
just he escapes, like Taylor escapes, and he's writing his memoirs or whatever, and he just kind of like, I guess, sends that message out into the world. But I
Mhm.
guess the last you see of him is that he just escaped, and he's just going out there with Nova, and then like I said, the person that finds the message and is reading it turns out to be an ape. And so
Okay.
then you find out that the apes were like the dominant race everywhere. I'm sure somebody that's actually read the book more recently and remembers will chime in and correct me, but it's something along those lines. This is, I think, a lot more impactful.
Mhm.
It hits you, and it's funny because when I saw it the first time, like I said, I was a kid, so I didn't get it. Like I remember, like I understood the words, like him saying "I'm home," and I was
Mhm.
trying to make sense of it. And then the Statue of Liberty, like my parents had to explain it to me, and
Yeah.
then when they explained it, it was just like,
It's well, it's 2023. I'm not gonna. It's too late to do this math all the way, but this is about 2,000 years from now. Uh,
God, 4023. Just the statue of Trump.
Jesus.
Now he finds instead of the doll, they find a MAGA hat at the
Yeah,
cave.
and then they blow up the cave because we need to protect it. Dude, that speech is like on the money. Zaius gives too about the man and how his intelligence borders his idiocy and all that shit. And we're used to like movies and media talking down to us now, but I'm curious, like, especially an American audience in 1968, like what their read on that was and how
they were offended.
yeah, well, they probably did that. They were like, this crazy monkey.
Well, I was
Busted out
thinking
my
about that today. I was like, how many people would watch it and not realize that Dr. Zaius and all those zealots are just basically they don't just represent that specific type of people, but just in general close-mindedness and just that
Mhm.
idea of, well, I'm gonna bend the facts and be blind to some things in order to just stick to my truth.
Yeah.
which we see it all the time here, now. But some people would see this movie and go like, oh, well, that's not me, that's them.
Yep.
So
It's it was gonna bother me. It's 1,955 years, 1,955
okay,
years
I'm
from
not
now.
gonna do that math.
Okay,
Just
from today until the events of this movie. So, I don't know.
be Matt
Keith
Damon
Richards.
coming back.
Keith Richards will be alive when this happens. I
Well,
mean, we've already been very positive about it, and this isn't going to change.
it didn't change. I mean, the second half is just as captivating. Although I noticed there's not a negative. It's just so clockwork. Like, because again, 30 minutes after we restarted it, they
Mhm.
escape and they go on the expedition. It's like, from the beginning of the movie, 30 minutes in, that's them, the humans exploring, and then they get captured by the apes. Then the
Yeah.
next 30 minutes until the 1 hour mark is Charlton Heston not being able to talk, and he's just a prisoner. So it's a
Mhm.
prison movie. Then he talks at the 1 hour mark. The next 30 minutes is basically a courtroom drama because he's there
Yeah.
trying to prove his case. And then 30 minutes in, the last 30 minutes is just that final escape. It's like an Indiana Jones movie where he just goes
They go to
exploring.
that cave, and Charlton Heston's explaining all like the eyeglasses and shit, and it's sadly relatable to today, where Dr. Zaius is like, well, I could say whatever I want about it and prove it. So like,
brings up his ultra right wing .com like website. It's like, well,
the
here
chart of like the electoral votes, and
yeah.
something very strange happens here. The man starts to make sense all of a sudden.
What I remembered, or what I started to remember as I was watching the first half, was that Dr. Zaius knew, because I remembered him not being that surprised when everything comes to light. You know, him basically.
He just carries that that pocket Bible on him at all times too. That explains.
Yeah.
If I'm ever caught, send this to my family.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, because I was trying to reconcile that. I was like, because at times he seems really confused about what's going on, right? He has that one-on-one with Charlton Heston where he's telling him, tell me where you come from.
Yeah.
Because I guess even though he knows, he has a good idea that humans were there before apes, or that humans were the dominant race before apes, he doesn't know, he can't fathom what has happened, which is that Charlton Heston went up into space and came back thousands of years later. So he's a man from the past.
Well, it's what we talked about in our halfway point of, he immediately dismisses the idea of a spaceship because he knows what it is.
Right. So but then I did remember that I didn't remember how they explain it, and yeah, they do.
So is this like, you could make the argument that this, like, The Village is just a spin-off of this.
The Shyamalan's The Village?
Yeah, not a spin-off. I'm sorry, like a reimagining, because that's kind of
okay.
William Hurt is Dr. Zaius, and that he knows like what's out there.
Oh God! Now it's clicking.
And then the Forbidden Zone and all that. I'm
Joaquin.
sorry.
Okay, so Joaquin is Cornelius, and Bryce Dallas Howard is Zira. And
yes,
Adrian Brody would be whatever Zira's nephew is.
Oh, I love that the speech he gives Charlton. It's not really a speech, just
his grievances.
Right. Always fly the flags of discontent and don't trust anybody over 30. I thought that was fantastic. I'm sorry, I watched The Village recently. It was in my horror movies this month, and that's like, by the end of it, I was like, oh yeah, and that's. As we've talked about with Shyamalan before, he had a couple good ideas, but a lot of his stuff you can just be like, oh, this is his version of this. And
I think The Village
cracked your code, M. Night.
Well, I think The Village is a little more charitable towards William Hurt and his people, where you can kind of see their point of view. With the apes, I mean, you're right. Dr. Zaius has a pretty good speech, but they're still very much the villains at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is bad. Like, I think that the movie is very clearly criticizing the world. I mean, I guess that's something else I remember, just how much of a clear criticism it is of just organized religion and just overall what I was saying,
domed in style of living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, what I wanted to praise the hell out of is the production design, because I just came from vacation and we're in Peru and we're visiting museums and ruins and all that stuff. So I was like, why is this feeling so familiar? Because the architecture, obviously the apes right now, they're not at the stage in their society that we are right now, right? They're not with the skyscrapers and the smartphones and all that stuff. But they're above primitive men. And so a lot of the structures that they have, and a lot of the clothing and the tools, like all that stuff, it looks like the stuff you see in museums right now, which I think is really cool. Right? Like, they just picked that sort of time frame to set the story, and I like it. I mean, the way that they're dressed and the way that each type of ape is dressed differently. I know the Burton movie, from what I remember, makes more of a point of like the distinctions between chimpanzees and gorillas and orangutans.
I remember that. Isn't
Jamadi, I think, is an orangutan, and Michael Clark Duncan. Yeah, he's a
big
gorilla. Yeah, but here, I mean, it's there in the sense that you always see the gorillas are just kind of like the handiwork, like the guards and the people that are like abusing the prisoners.
They're the ones that are armed.
Yes, correct. And then I guess the orangutans are at the top of the chain, and then the chimpanzees are scientists but not respected scientists. So
They're the Faucis of
yes.
this time.
Can you pick a favorite ape? I mean, I know we have three big ones. So you have Zaius, Zira, and Cornelius, and I kept going around because every time one of them spoke, I would just say like, "No, this one is my favorite." Like
I
as far
really
as
do like
performance,
Zira. Zaius gets the big monologues. Zira has the warmth to her and everything, and she honestly might have been one of my favorite lines. Just the context and delivery of it at the very end, where it says, "I want to kiss you," and she's like, "Okay, but you're just so damn ugly." And like she delivers it in a way that the delivery is not funny. It's just like the context, like I said,
right,
of it.
right.
But like Zaius gets those big monologues, and like the scene he has where it's just him and Charlton Heston in his office. He's got some really intense delivery. That was Maurice Evans played
Mhm.
Dr. Zaius, and even like I said, the big speech he has at the end, and then he's like, "Sorry, I lied. You guys are going to get tried for heresy, and I maybe save the future." And uh, just that his last line of what is he going to find out there? His destiny. It's just like, yeah, movies. Fuck yeah.
Another Contrarians connection to Dr. Zaius is that Ben Stiller has a Dr. Zaius doll that Winona Ryder breaks in Reality Bites.
Oh man, taking it way back there, way back
to the beginning of the pandemic.
I have not seen any of the sequels to this, nor have I seen any of the modern saga.
They're very different. Well, mostly different. I want to say that they probably
It starts, no pun intended, at a primitive level, right? Of like,
yeah, they start from scratch. I mean,
yeah,
the new trilogy is a completely new story, and it starts from the very beginning of how the apes rose to power. Do you know what happens in the next 4 movies in this franchise, like for
no,
the sequels? I mean, I suggest you watch them at some point. And I was very tempted. I think it was like $50 or $60 on Amazon. They had a box set of all 9 movies. So
good
the
lord.
5 originals, the Tim Burton remake, and the 3 new ones. And I was like, I just spent a lot of money on a vacation, so I'm not gonna pull the trigger on this. But
Yeah,
maybe in the future.
Can't guarantee the turnaround is going to be as quick as like the Jaws sequels that I watch because there's a lot more meat here. But it's
Yeah.
something I'm interested in.
Well, you do. All I'll say is that Brandon Curtis. I'll just say this: you do get to see the beginning, how it all starts. So, and in that sense, they have that in common with the new ones, because the new ones, well, those start with the beginning of the rise of the apes. And then I want to say, because I haven't seen the old ones in a long time, but I want to say that the end point is kind of like similar, where it all ends. They're very they're kind of like all over the place as far as just what they span. It's not like, oh, now we're gonna see what happened next with Taylor or whatever. It's just more like
I saw Kim Hunter's in a couple of them, and Roddy
yes.
McDowell.
It feels like, I don't know if it's just because I'm assuming there's no more books, so I think that they just took this, which is basically the end of the book, and then they went off on their own thing. And maybe it's just that Heston didn't want to come back or what, but they did get Zira and Cornelius back for a couple other movies. Dr. Zaius may be back too, at least for one.
Yeah, Roddy McDowell. I saw him listed on a couple things.
Yeah.
That's because, well, one, this movie had a pretty big budget for the time period, $6 million, but it made back 33. Looks like 33 million today. That would inflation. That would be close to 300 million. So
it made its mark.
They said, "Get your ass back in the lab and turn us out 5 more scripts."
But by then, Heston was doing something else. He had signed up to do
Wayne's World 2.
There you go. It started pre-production. He had to start rehearsals on Wayne's World 2, so he couldn't do it. Roddy McDowell, I want to shout him out because, we praise Zira, we praise Dr. Zaius, and Roddy McDowell is great being the most put upon ape here, because everybody bosses him around, nobody respects him. his own girlfriend like constantly shushes him and tells him what's what, and
She kisses a human in front of him.
in front of him. He looks so indignant, but that's
He does.
That's
He's like,
acting.
"Ugh."
Yeah, he has that. I love that he is right in the middle, right? Like it's not that he doesn't believe what's he's not in denial like Zaius,
Mhm.
but he's very skeptic like a scientist. And so I love that he's like, yeah, this guy can talk or he can write or whatever, but I don't think he came from outer space. There has to be another explanation. So
He's crazy.
yeah, he just walks that line and keeps going back and forth between I mean, he's always an ally, I guess, of Taylor and Zira's, but he doesn't always support them completely. So I think he's great, and his physicality is just as good as Zira's and Zaius is Kim Hunter and Maurice Evans. Is that his last name?
Please hold. Maurice Evans, yes.
Yeah. Hey, I think that they nail like the chimpanzee and orangutan movements and the expressions and all that stuff. So he's great. It does not surprise me at all that I don't know if they were just fan favorites or they just happened to be the people that I could get back, but it doesn't surprise me that then they would anchor 2 more movies at least on them, as characters and as actors. So that's really cool.
Well, while we're here, I don't know when this would come back up. You don't like the Tim Burton one, do you?
I think it's very silly. I've seen
Abraham Lincoln.
I saw it once in theaters, and it was not the best experience because they had a brain wrap, and when the movie came back, we had lost like 20 minutes. I think that they missed like a whole reel, so it was choppy to begin with. But you could have added like 40 minutes, and you wouldn't have explained that ending. And I remember reading a defense of that ending. Like, I don't hate the ending. I just think it's really silly,
Yeah.
And by comparison, this one is just impactful, and the Burton one just makes you laugh. Like, what the fuck is going on? And this one makes sense. The Burton one doesn't. You have to think about it for a while to even try to have it make sense.
It's like one of those things of like this ending. We had talked about it already. And just to go back to it, it's like so influential and so seminal is the word I'm looking for, that it seemed like Burton and then the 3 people that wrote that screenplay, William Broyles, Lawrence Connor, and Mark Rosenthal, it seems like they got in their head that we have to up the ante and have some like American iconography or like some monument that people are aware of. But
it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Like, why is it the Lincoln Memorial? You could have done like, I don't know, anything else. It's as much like logic as he crash lands at Mount Rushmore and it's 4 different apes, and it's just like, what?
I mean, you can make it make sense, but the thing is with
the
this
reveal
movie,
is like where the light just comes. It's very silly. Yeah.
But again, I don't remember if it was like Tim Burton himself or if it was some Tim Burton defender or somebody that was like, no, obviously, what they were going for is that mind-blowing reaction, like when the first time you watched the original movie and you were just like, what the fuck? And yeah, I mean, you go, what the fuck, but then after that, what happens, right? And when the original ending settles, you're still shaken. When the Burton surprise goes away, you're just laughing. We're like, what? Tim Roth is the bad guy, right? Tim Roth,
General Thad, who turned down the role of Severus Snape to be in Planet of the Apes.
He probably thought that they were, he was gonna have 5 movies.
I mean, it made $360 million. So to be fair, and of course, Tim Roth, wherever you are, God bless you. You ain't eating pork and beans for dinner tonight, but the Harry Potter money's got to be sweet. But yeah, it's visually it was impressive because I remember they were very committed to the practical effects to be kind of loyal to the orig. But silly is a good word to describe it.
I remember just being completely put off, and this is, I guess, kind of snobby. It's like, oh, it's not like the original. But from the moment that he crash lands in the planet and the humans can talk, and I was like, what's the point? I mean, I remember even before watching the movie, my thought was, if the humans can't talk, then why can't the humans just explain to him what's going on?
Yeah.
And I don't remember what the explanation is in the movie, but it was already it kind of lowered the stakes. It's just so much more impactful when he has nobody to talk to other than the people that are after him. So
That
that
part
was
in
cool.
this one where he tries to write that message, and then that guy like kicks the dirt up, and that's why he gets in the fight with that dude.
And then Dr. Zaius finishes the job. Just
Yeah,
piece of shit. Man, I really hope he's in the sequels. I don't know when I'm gonna get to sequels, but now I need to watch the rest of the story just to see.
agreed.
I know it's sad. I know it's not a happy 4 movies that follow, but then you can do the palate cleanser with the new ones. But yeah, this is good. Jordan, I don't know that it's a movie I would ever have thought to put on my top 100. I don't know if it will make it in my top 100, but I can see it contender because now that we're here at the end, I can say I consider it timeless. I think that it works. It's just like we were saying in the Dawn of the Dead episode. Like I wouldn't make any excuses for this movie. I wouldn't have to put up any warnings or whatever. We just like watch it and enjoy it. And if for some reason you don't know how it ends, that's great.
Oh, brother.
Yes.
Prepare for an all-timer.
Yeah. It's good stuff. I'm going with 5 stars, Alex. What's your score?
Yeah, I always try not to get swept up in the moment, but yeah, an A for sure. Yeah, either 4.5 or 5 stars when I end up logging out on my old LB. But yeah, same thing. I don't know if I could definitively say right now it would be in my top 100 movies of all time, but it's timeless. It's impactful. It flies by. It's a movie that's what, 50 years old, 60,
Yeah.
and it looks more visually impressive than some stuff that comes out today. So I think that's as high praise as Nicolas Cage would say. Great shit. Great pick and a good discussion to come along with it.
Very memorable. I almost forgot to make this point just because we kind of started it in the last segment, but the fact that Taylor is not a very pleasant person. He's mostly an asshole in this movie. I understand he's under a lot of stress, but still, he's just very unpleasant, even when he was in a good mood. And he has that conversation, the one-sided conversation with Nova, shortly after we started the first hour, where he refers to the female scientist that was coming with them as somebody that was going to be the new Eve with them, that was going to help them populate this new planet that we're arriving to. It was so gross.
Yeah. That's part of what Zaius' like note says too about like, well, he has the line of like, I didn't realize your kind could be monogamous, but then also the don't let them breed too much or else they'll take over and leave your land in ruin.
Yeah, it's I guess I said in the last segment that I didn't think I was going to feel bad for him at the end because he was such a dick. I don't know that I felt bad for him at the end, but I definitely appreciated what he was going through because at the beginning they establish him. He has a conversation with Landon where he explains that, oh yeah, he left Earth because he had given up on humanity, basically. Yeah. And then at the end of the movie, humanity proved him right. Like his worst fears, he said that we do war on each other and we take each other's food and whatever. And then, he comes back and they destroy themselves. So I like that. Yeah. owned by time and apes. Suck it. No Oscar nominations for this. It won 2 Oscars. It was nominated for 2 Oscars. That's what the Amazon thing was telling me.
Film won an honorary Academy Award for John Chambers for his outstanding makeup achievement. It was nominated for Best Costume Design and Best Original Score for a Motion Picture. The score is known for its avant-garde composure techniques.
Well, I'm glad the makeup got some recognition because that was my main concern.
Yeah.
Good stuff. This is the standard. What you measured practical effect monkeys
was entered into the National Film Registry in 2001, which is the year the remake came out. It reminded people of how much better it was.
All right. Well, Jordan, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to revisit this and just appraise it with adult eyes. It was very, very rewarding. So I think we have 2 of these left, Alex, and one of them is another revisit, although the one that's from something that we talked about together a few years ago, and that is the last Die Hard movie, A Good Day to Die Hard. What do you think? Do you think we'll change our minds about it?
Yippee! No,
I own that Blu-ray,
one
so
of two movies I've walked out of.
this will be the last time you watch it,
Yes,
probably.
Yeah.
Ever. And then the other one is it's a pick from our friend John, but I don't remember which one he said he wanted for dual QVR. So 2 more of these. So stay tuned. And thank you for watching all the stuff. Listen to the podcast. Check out our YouTube channel. There's a lot more videos that are not QVRs. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Love y'all.